What is going on, guys? So another video coming at you. This is going to be a Gawgia ranks. So I'm going to do another top 10 for you. And this is going to be my top 10 Marvel heroes. So this isn't the top 10 most powerful Marvel heroes. This is all my top 10, my favorites. This is from the MCU. So not from the comic books, but from the movies themselves. And these are the ones I enjoyed the most, I think had the most depth, things of that nature. All these things came in. So let's just dive on in with number 10. My 10th best Marvel hero is going to be Hawkeye. Now I do think he is absolutely crucial to the team, but when I do look at different things, while he is a master with the bow and arrow and master with other things, he doesn't have any special abilities. So I enjoyed the series that Disney came out with. That was actually really good. And I do think he does offer a cohesiveness, a hominess to the MCU that is needed. But when it comes down to it, if I would rather watch a single-off movie, Hawkeye never did one of those. They did do the series, but I didn't like it as much as I did the other one. So Hawkeye at number 10. At 9, I'm going to do the Guardians together. I enjoyed both of their standalone movies and the characters in all of the collaboration movies, the Avengers, and things of that nature. These movies are hilarious. I think there's just a whole upper echelon of nostalgia with their soundtracks. The soundtracks to these movies were fantastic. I love Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, the other actors, Dave Bautista, even Rocket being Bradley Cooper. I enjoy these so much. There's enough fun, there's enough humor, there's enough just that randomness that Bautista's character Drax throws in there that I really, really enjoy. So I'm going to put them all together at 9. I didn't want to itemize those guys. I didn't want to leave any of them out because I do think those movies work as a cohesive group and not a standalone. So I wanted to put those together. I do really like Guardians, so I've got them at 9. 8 is Hulk. The first standalone Hulk movies with Edward Norton were pretty terrible. I was not able to finish at the first time. I ended up making myself just to get all the timeline in order. But once Mark Ruffalo came up and started being Bruce Banner, I really enjoy him and his approach to it. I think what they did with giving us the different Hulks, the original one, and then him not coming out, and then him being in the Hulkbuster armor, and then you getting Dr. Hulk at the last of the Infinity War stuff and Endgame. I absolutely enjoyed those. So for the first part, that's why I kind of put him down at 8. I haven't enjoyed as much of that character, but that was, I think, because of the Edward Norton play. But once Mark Ruffalo came in, the Hulk has been very enjoyable. So that's number 8 for me. Number 7 is going to be Thor. The second Thor movie was a little brutal. Loved the first one, and I ended up really liking Love and Thunder. I think it was a good, more light-hearted, comedic part right after coming out with so many heavy movies. Endgame was very heavy, and then Spider-Man No Way Home was pretty heavy. So I think they did that to give us a light-hearted movie. I know Shang-Chi was in there. That one wasn't as heavy. That one was really spectacular. So shout out to Shang-Chi. But it wasn't super well received, Love and Thunder, but Thor is, 1, really funny. 2, he's one of the more powerful ones, and I just think that Hemsworth does a great job in the character, and I've enjoyed the standalone movies with the exception of number 2. So Thor at number 7. Number 6, Black Widow. Her standalone movie was great. I love the character, Natasha Romanoff. There was just something about that character that was so good, and she played it so well. Shout out to Scarlett Johansson. Every time she was on the screen, she commanded attention without having the special powers. Her comebacks were really good. That's where I think Hawkeye kind of come back a little bit, was he didn't have the good one-liners. The writing wasn't there for Hawkeye, where it definitely was for Black Widow. So enjoyed those. Her standalone movie was great. Her incorporated in the conglomeration movies was spectacular. So I always was a fan when Black Widow was on there, and I think it's a special kind of actress that's able to command that attention when she doesn't have all the special powers or the special abilities or any of this stuff. So I've got her at 6. 5 is going to be Doctor Strange, our favorite egotistical doctor. The first movie, I was so intrigued with the preview of it, the trailer, that I was like, oh, this is different than everything we've done. And I think the character itself, while he can be brash at times and overbearing, you know, we got that from Tony, but he does it in a different way. So Tony is definitely brash and egotistical and all these things, but we got it just in a different way. Benedict Cumberbatch approaches the character differently. I think the character was written differently, which is really nice, especially coming from one being an eccentric billionaire to one being a doctor. Those are a different kind of egos built up, and the actors and the writers did a spectacular job in developing those characters into those two routes where they could have ended up being the same guy, and they absolutely have not been, and that's been really nice. So, number 4, Captain America. I enjoyed these as standalone movies. Winter Soldier, I think, was my favorite one. The first one was super slow to me. I did ended up enjoying it, but it was one of those that I had to kind of watch a couple of times to really get through. It was a slow start. Once the action started going, and it's absolutely necessary to tell the story of the MCU, but the first one was slow, and Winter Soldier was not, and Civil War was the first where we got, I think it was 12 or 14 of them together, and that was our first taste of this, that many. You know, I know Avengers was out and we had 6, but Civil War was probably in my top 3 of all the MCU movies. I absolutely loved that movie. I've watched it probably more than anything than the Iron Man movies and the Avengers themselves. 3 was Black Panther. This was not a movie. This was a movement. And it was so good. R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. He is no longer with us, but I absolutely loved what he brought to the character. I loved the writing for it. I loved that we got to see a different side of the whole MCU. We saw a whole different side. They brought us to a new place, a new things, and I think they did bring it back to the heritage of where they were located. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. Ended up doing some more research of how close they were associated, and then saw interviews of the actors of how much they researched into what was going on, what would be relevant, what would be correct at that time, and absolutely loved it. So I contend that series, and I just watched Wakanda Forever, spectacular film, post Chadwick, and I just think they're not movies, they're movements, and they are fantastic. So shout out to the actors for sure, shout out to the writers, and I just love those. Plus Chadwick and all, the Black Panther is super powerful as a character in and of himself. So the storyline was fantastic, the powers were really nice, and they told it in a great way. Plus, you know, everybody was walking around saying Wakanda Forever and doing the chest bump and everything. So he's 3 for me. Absolutely, there's no knock on those movements, those movies, those films at all. Loved it, loved the character. He's definitely 3 for me. 2, I'm going to bring back to a nostalgia standpoint. It's the one I think most of us over 30 have seen the most, and it is going to be Spider-Man. And this edged out probably 3 or 4 spots up just because of Spider-Man No Way Home. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, turn this off now. But in Spider-Man No Way Home, they brought back Tobey Maguire, they brought back Andrew Garfield, and gave us, I think, one of the movies that everybody in my age range, younger, older, everybody that had grown up with that Tobey Maguire, just electricity in 2004, wanted to see. We wanted to see everybody come together. There were always the who would win, you know, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man or the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and even the current Spider-Man, Peter Parker being Tom Holland. All 3 of those guys did great jobs in their respective movies, and to bring them into one cohesive group, in No Way Home, man, that tugged at my heartstrings hard. I absolutely loved what they did. You know, it was a heavier movie for sure. They made Peter grow up a good bit, but I loved it. Homecoming was good. Far From Home was really good. Him being that young, spunky teenage comic relief in the collaborative movies were also spectacular. So shout out Tom Holland, and then shout out to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming back, reprising their roles, and just giving the fans what I think everybody knew we wanted. So Spider-Man 2, love that. We've been watching those films for close to 20 years, and they still just hold a special place in my heart. So Spider-Man 2, my favorite MCU characters, and above all, number one is the man himself, Tony Stark. I was one of the ones that watched the first Iron Man when Marvel doubled down on themselves and took not the best name in Hollywood because it was a little bit cheaper. Took him, he absolutely owned that role. They bet on themselves, and Marvel has grown into what they are because of the first Iron Man movie and how successful it was. And then going Iron Man 1, 2, 3, I loved all of them. Avengers Ultron, Avengers Infinity, Avengers Endgame, him doing all those, being in the Spider-Man movies. I think he's done 12 of them, and he's just Tony. And the reason that I've got him at number one is all of them, I think, have a spectacular way of being who they are. And outside of Chadwick being T'Challa, not the Black Panther, but being T'Challa, nobody is able to be Iron Man. There's just not. If they have had to do one of those cast switches, I don't think it would have been successful with Tony Stark not being Robert Downey Jr. So give him a lot of props. A lot of this is that I've been watching him the longest. He was the first MCU film. So I do have a massive, massive heart for Tony Stark. Another spoiler alert if you haven't watched Endgame. But when he ended up leaving the MCU in Endgame, man, because I was there, I was at the Atlanta premiere. Our governor ended up being there, which was crazy, but I got to be there, and it was a super special night. And I shed a tear or two, because that's a character that we've all grown up, we've grown up with. The nostalgia was there. We got attached to these characters. It had been one of the first times something like this had gone on and on and on. And we really cared about these guys. So that is my top 3: Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Black Panther. Absolutely fantastic. So if you disagree, if you do agree, or if you have questions on how I came to this determination, feel free to leave it in the comments. Smash that subscribe button, hit that like button. I would appreciate it so much, guys. We're up to, I think, 122. Let's get to 150 by the end of next week. Let's put a challenge out there. So share this video, put it up on Facebook. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, all those. Follow me there, share this, get us up to 150, and I would appreciate that so much. So that's our goal. Anyway, Fam Jam, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. I'm out.